Josh.
I'm Michelle.
And this is Little Bandology, Season 2.
Oh my gosh, which episode?
That's you.
Is this
You're supposed to say episode. It's episode 4.
episode 4?
It's episode 4.
We've already done 4?
With this, no, this is 4.
Right.
We've done 3.
So we're already on 4.
We're on 4.
Cool.
Hut, 4. But before we get into that, I wanted to talk a little bit about where our students are rhythmically speaking. And I only know this because the last 2 days I have been playing solo band director.
Yeah.
In Beckful.
Y'all, I have the coolest boss. I just want to say that.
But she's so full of it. So the last 2 days, Michelle got to, well, she didn't get to, but she left. She left me. She left me all by my lonesome. All left to my own devices, which is never a good thing.
We surprised Sutton
with
tickets to a Benson Boone concert.
I know who that is. I know I know one of his songs because she plays it all the time, but she knows all the songs. So
she literally knows all the songs. So there was one part of the concert last night where he said, I'm going to do a little medley of 3 of my older tunes, this year.
And he's not that old to have older tunes.
He isn't old. He really isn't that old. But for this year, he's really exploded in popularity. When he says older tunes, like, yes, he's gotten popular this year, but he's actually been around for 3 or 4 years, like from when he first started. And he said, if you know these tunes, then I'm impressed. And Sutton knew the words to every single one of those songs. Like, I was like, I have no idea what these are, but
that's
she
what
knew them.
6th grade girls bank. Like, that's the big part of their memory is lyrics and stuff.
Yeah.
Like
Benson Boone song lyrics.
So I handled a couple of days of class and got to teach all of our students, which was kind of nice. It's very tiring. Those of you that are doing one-person gigs, you're superheroes.
Hats off to you guys. I couldn't do it.
I've kind of done it, not really. At one point in my life, that's what I thought I wanted to do, was a one-person gig. And
because that's what you grew up in.
I did. I grew up with one band director, all the beginners at the same time, and we were a good band. I mean, we won Texas 1A Honor Band my junior year, and that program now is probably the premier 2A program in the state, and we compete against them all the time. But it's good to have good competition. But I noticed in going through our rhythm, we have students that have spanned the different lengths of notes from quarter note to half note to whole note.
Yep.
And this is where the differentiation comes in. All of them are working well where they are sitting currently. Mm-hmm. And I today we did something in your rhythm pass off. We typically do one line per person. So they get to do one line. We just kind of make laps. Michelle actually does a timer from the second bell so she doesn't go overtime. I just make sure I try to hear every student twice, depending on the size of the class. My largest class is my last period class, which is horn, trombone. Oh my gosh, I don't even know what I teach. And tuba. And there's a bunch of them in there, but I make sure I go around twice. But that sort of leaves them wanting in a lot of respects, especially the ones that want to move ahead. And so today we did a marathon pass-off. And so how that works is we do one chance. That's all you get. But you get to go as many lines down the page as you can go without messing up. And if you make it all the way down the page, that's great. That's where you stop, unless you only have one line left on a page. I'll let you finish that and then go to the next page. And we had some students. We had one young lady that finished her line and got 2 measures from the end of her page, a whole nother page, before she messed up. And I think it was like, it hit her that, oh my gosh, I'm about to do this. I'm about to get.
She freaked herself out.
And she was like, oh, and she said 3 instead of 2. And it was heartbreaking to see her. She was so upset. But then I started putting all the stickers on her paper and she was like, oh, okay, I don't feel so bad about this. And so we did that. So it really gave me a sense going to every student, watching them and listening to them pass off as to how solid they were. And what is great about this and why it's important that you do this is because music is not singular linear.
Right, yeah.
It's not one line. It's not 5 or 6 measures. It goes down the page. And so the first time students see that, if you haven't been doing that, giving them that visual building block, is they get to it and they freak out the first time they see it in the beginner book. But when they have 2 lines instead of 1 or 3 lines instead of 2, well, they're used to going down the page one right after the other.
Yeah, you're teaching them how to track their eyes down the page, how to look ahead.
And so that was fun. That was fun today. And students some were very disappointed with themselves. Some were surprised with themselves to how far they could go. And some of them surprised me that were kind of further back, but managed to get like 3 or 4 lines today. And you got to be a little cheerleader, have a little small victory for them. So that was exciting. We're all on the horns now. No, well, I mean, close. We're close. All the brass are on the horns.
Yeah.
And percussion, we're deep into mallet and snare at the time.
I will say, if me and Sutton hadn't had our Benson Boone excursion, all the woodwinds would be on the horns too. But
she doesn't trust me to do that.
I mean, you could have done that. I would have.
Well, it would have been really
fine.
Tricky because we have all the students together.
Yeah, it would have been hard if you had to do that by yourself.
And we just got the brass kids on their instruments this week, which are at the end of last week and the beginning of this week. So my trombones were my last ones to go, and they're already doing pretty well. They're probably making good sounds, but we put all that work in on the front side of things. But the other day was yesterday. I sort of cheated.
Don't do that.
I got Aiden and Noah out of class.
Yeah, that's not fair.
And they're in dual credit English last period, and they have all their work done for like until Kingdom Come. And so I caught them at lunch, and I was like, hey, can you get out of class last period? And they're like, why? And I was like, I want you to come and teach. And so Aiden came and worked with my French horns for the whole period, and he had them. We're working on anchor point, so they're working on their C, the E, and the G. They both got the E right off the bat when they picked up the horn the very first time. Really, really nice embouchure setups. We just lucked into two good horn setups. It's not have nothing to do with me. And he took them, and by the time he was done, they were doing 5-note scales.
Oh, wow.
So that was pretty exciting. Yeah, Noah, who is our bassoon player. He plays tuba in our marching band, and so I gave him my concert tuba and the 3 tubas, and they went and worked on playing concert F, getting a good start, a good middle, and a good end. If you've ever taught beginning tuba, it is hard. Beginner tuba is hard. I'm just going to put this out into the universe. Beginner tuba is so hard. And so they did that, and I got to just work with trombones and flutes, and it was a lot of fun, which leads us into our topic for this episode is our Flooter Tooters. And Michelle is the one who does all of that. And so I'm going to let her do most of the talking. I know that's hard to believe because I never shut up.
Okay, well, first I'm just going to say.
What?
I'm very hesitant to even talk about this because I know there are a lot of different ways to do these things. Yes, I'm going to say a lot of things, and I know
and yes, you're probably going to disagree with some.
And there's probably things you're going to disagree with.
Wait until I get to brass. Everybody's going to be like, this guy's a moron.
I know there may be things that you're like, oh, no, that's not right. You're doing that completely wrong. But I mean, the way that I'm doing things, it's worked for me. I feel like our flutes have turned out actually pretty good.
Our high school flute section is probably top 3 section in the high school band.
I actually think I teach flute better than I teach anything else.
She has good flutes, y'all.
I'm open to suggestions. So if there's something that I'm saying that you're like, ooh, maybe you should try it this way instead, please let us know. I'd love to hear suggestions.
littlebandology@gmail.com or comment on Facebook.
I am not one of those people that is like, it is this way and only this way. I am a lifetime learner. So
we are both very interested in trying new things.
If there is something that I'm saying that you're like, ooh, maybe not that way, maybe you should try it this way, please. I'm open to those suggestions. I'd love to hear them. So
what do you look for when you're looking for a flute player?
When we're testing the kids, we have every single kid try everything. And so what I'm looking for is somebody who can naturally make that pouty flute face. I do like to have kids who have a little bit thinner lips on the flute, just because if you have that thicker bottom lip, it is hard. It is harder. It's not impossible, but it's harder to find the spot on your bottom lip every single time if you have a thicker bottom lip. Not impossible. You can do it. It's just a little more difficult for them.
I can speak from experience because I got fat lips.
Yeah. So you just have to work a little harder with those kids that have a thicker bottom lip. I do try to avoid the teardrop. Kids with teardrops can do it. We have several high school flute players that have the teardrop.
Some of them are at the top of the section.
Yeah. We just have to work a little harder with them, be real honest with them up front. that, you're going to have to work a little harder. But, I do try to avoid putting those kids on the flute. I try to find kids who are not afraid to use a lot of air, who make really big sounds. I try to find kids who aren't afraid to make duck face, pucker face, like aren't scared of that. Whenever I'm testing, like if they're real shy about making that face whenever I'm talking to them, I might avoid them just because that is such a big part of it. You have to push your lips forward a lot. So if they're weird about that, I might avoid them, just depending. A lot of kids will just naturally make that face. I feel like anybody can play it. That's the thing. Like, I don't disclude kids for anything.
And we do test. Now, we are in a small school. And we do have people that look think instruments are gender specific, but I've never had an instrument identify as any kind of gender. We don't try to dissuade anybody from an instrument.
No, absolutely not.
But we haven't had
a boy flute.
Flute, like that has just wanted to do it. We get clarinets all the time.
Yeah,
and they're good.
I mean,
so good.
I've had a lot of boys make great sounds on the head joint,
and they turn out to be really good tuba or horn players.
Yeah.
Usually that's where they come to me and I go, no, you have a tuba face. And I guess I persuade them to, but I do that with girls too. So
yeah.
Personality wise, is there anything you look for in a flute player?
I mean, I love it when they're really smart,
which I find funny because I don't think any of these three listen to podcasts, but our 7th grade flute players, I swear they share a brain. They share one brain, and when one of them is gone, one of them has been gone the last 2 days, it's like lights are on, nobody's home. It is so funny, and I love them so much, but they're such a mess.
I truthfully don't remember testing any of those girls.
You had to have. I
know that I did, but I truthfully don't remember.
Well, and one of them actually was going to play trombone.
Okay, but I also want to talk about my flute curse. This is the first year it hasn't happened, but for the last knock on wood, 5 years, we've put
5 years,
5 or 6 people on flute, and I have ended up with 3.
And we're not talking about they made it through the year and then we had 3. No. We get to the first day of school and it's like so-and-so moved, so-and-so's gone homeschool, so-and-so's going to da-da-da-da-da.
And I have 3 kids on flute, and that is it.
Yes. And this year we had one move in, and that's all we had was a flute.
Yeah, that's
all we
had
which actually has worked out pretty well. She does a pretty good job.
She does an okay job, yeah.
But yeah, you have five flutes?
I have
4 flutes, 5 flutes.
1, 2.
I've been teaching them the last 2 days, guys, and I don't even know.
4 flutes and then Sutton in that class. So
4 flutes and Sutton, yeah.
5 total. So 4 flutes and an oboe.
4 flutes and you have some ridiculously smart kids on flute this year.
Very, very smart, but oh my gosh, out of control.
They're giggly. They're so giggly.
They're so giggly, and that group is so tight knit.
They get along really well.
Yeah,
which kind of helps too. All right, moving on.
Yes, ask me another question.
What is like day one flute? Like you get your flutes for the first time. What's the first thing you do?
Okay, so the first thing that I'm doing is we use Musical Mastery. The first thing that we're doing is we're reading the page that talks about breathing.
Yes.
Because breathing is
and you could say that with every single instrument
important.
Except for percussion. Music Mastery, I don't think they have a percussion section.
I don't know.
I don't think they do.
Never.
But if you're not using Musical Mastery, it's wonderful. We get no money from them, but their information is fantastic, and it's all in one place.
But we are practicing it. We're talking about breathing in, using the word how, because that relaxes your shoulders down. It puts the air in their body in the right place. Just the way that it relaxes their throat. It makes everything work the right way. And then like we use our mirrors from Premier Music Teaching Aids. Shout out Adonna Donovan. And like we watch their shoulders as they're breathing in to make sure that their shoulders we do all of the breathing things first. Mm-hmm. We're also, as we're breathing, we're saying the words to blow out that we want them to say as they're blowing into their instruments. Flute, we're saying the word to, because that's the word we want to blow through. If I'm doing clarinet, we're saying the word T, because that's the word we want them to use as they blow into the clarinet. So keep that in mind as you're breathing with your students. After we've gone through the breathing stuff, we're moving to the Musical Mastery page that talks about embouchure.
Yes.
And we have our Premier Music Teaching Aid mirrors, and we're going through the steps of the embouchure on the page. Musical mastery just does such a good job of
just lining it out.
Lining out every single step of the embouchure.
And if you are not instrument specific, this is where if you're teaching heterogeneously, this can come into great value. The teacher books tell you what to say. If you don't know what to say, it gives you an idea. It doesn't even give you an idea. It tells you exactly what to say if that is not your primary instrument. If you're a percussionist and you're in a one-horse town and you're the horse and you need to know what to say for your woodwinds or your brass and you're freaking out, it will help you. All right, moving on.
On top of that, something that I love, you may or may not know this video exists. Oh my gosh, his name has left my brain. Flute player, English dude.
Sir James Galloway.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I don't know why his name left my brain. He has this video.
We're getting a letter. We're getting a letter. Be like, how do you not know this
I'm
guy?
also sleep deprived because I was at a Benson Boone contest. Oh gosh, concert last night.
This is all staying into. I'm not even getting this out.
I'm so tired. Okay, so he has this video where he talks about how to make the flute embouchure, and he like talks about pulling your bottom lip over your top lip, and like it's just a great video. And so I show that video too.
I tell you what, when I post this podcast on our Facebook page, I will add that video down below in the comment section.
And so it doesn't exactly match what Musical Mastery says, but I think it just gives two views of how to do the embouchure.
Two working perspectives.
So if you like mesh those two things together, I think that you get something that works. You start with the open pitch. At least I start with the open pitch on the flute head joint. Usually the kids can get that one pretty easily. Once you go to the capped high pitch, I go back to that. If they're really struggling to get that high pitch cap on the head joint, I go back to that James Galloway video where he pulls his bottom lip over his top lip, because that's essentially what you're trying to do to get the high pitch out, is you want that bottom lip to move forward to aim the air correctly. I go back to that video, and so they get it at the very beginning, and then you bring it back around when you get to that point. And I know I'm kind of jumping around, but
so when you get to the head joint and they open their case.
Oh, right. Okay, let's go back. Yeah. Sorry,
so
I'm jumping ahead.
They're open their case. That's okay. That's why I'm here. When they open their case, what steps do you take to help them set up that embouchure initially?
So I am actually. I get my little rolling chair and I roll to every single student. There are some worksheets in the Musical Mastery where they can like note name. And so like we have our ready-made music where they have the staff chant. They use that staff chant and then they do note naming worksheets from Musical Mastery. And as they're doing that, I'm rolling to each individual student and I am placing the head joint, and we're trying to find that magical place on their face where they can make a sound. And it's a trial and error thing.
Because everybody's face
is different, right? I'm going to be able to find that place by looking at them easier than they're going to be able to find that place by looking in a mirror, just because they don't have the experience that I have.
Although the mirror is very important once you find that place so they can see where it sits.
Yes. And so they have their mirror on their stand. And so once I find it, I have them look in the mirror and memorize that. And then I'll roll to the next person and they'll go to their note naming worksheet. It is very tedious and it takes a lot of time, but I do this for a couple of days. I'll roll down the row, and then when I get to the end of the row, I go back to the front and I say, okay, get your mirror out, try to find that spot that we found together. The first time they're not going to find it. It's going to be wrong the first time. And so I'll help them find it again. Okay, look in your mirror, memorize where that spot is, and I go to the next person. Usually by the third time around, they're able to find it by themselves. By the fourth time around, they're getting it. And especially if they're going home and practicing it, they're really getting it. This process usually takes 2 or 3 days. And I know that seems like a lot of time. Maybe some of y'all it doesn't take quite that long. I really want to make sure that they are really solid on knowing exactly where their head joint goes on their face before we start moving to anything else. Because if they don't know where their head joint goes on their face, then they're not going to be successful on anything else. They're not going to make a good sound.
If they don't have a little success, then they feel defeated before they even get started.
Right. They're not going to make a good sound. They're going to play out of tune. They're articulation is going to be different. There are just so many things that could go wrong on the flute if they can't place their head joint in the correct place. Some things to look for if they're not making a good sound, just making sure it's lined up directly in the center, to make sure the tone hole is directly centered underneath their nose. Another thing, make sure that the tone hole is not rolled too far in towards their body. You do have to cover about a third of it with your bottom lip, but if you cover too much, then you're not gonna get much sound. The other thing is, if you're not covering any of it, you're not going to get any sound. Okay, so it's got to be the perfect amount covered. Making sure that you're starting with your tongue touching the top of your teeth. And we talk a lot about the hard palate and the soft palate. I actually make them take their finger and touch that spot, the top of the teeth, where the teeth meet the gums. There's a lot of different ways you can say that. And I use all of those things so I can try to meet every single kid. One of the ways that you say those things is going to meet each of those individual kids. A lot of people are like, you have to say it this way, but one singular way of saying something may not meet every single kid. So we say it in a lot of different ways.
And we do that with everything. Beginners, middle school, high school, marching band, concert band. We do one-act play too, and our theater kids, we do that with them too, because everybody hits a little bit different. Now, is there something about like it's like oh my gosh, what's it called? I remember vaguely from my flute methods class a million years ago. The water vapor trail, is that what it is? Is that a thing?
Some people talk about that. I don't really talk about that very much, but
I remember looking at it to sort of help me know if they were aiming.
So if you see the water vapor trail, it could be helpful. So if it's off to the side a little bit, you can say, oh, look, you can see your water vapor trail is not in the center. That will show them their air is off to the side, so their head joint isn't lined up correctly. You're looking for that triangle right there. I don't really talk about that very much, though.
I remember when I first started teaching, flute, which was not when I first started teaching. I vaguely remember talking about it.
If you are a flute player and you talk about it and you have like a good reason to talk about it, we'd love to hear it.
And we know some amazing flute teachers. But if you're listening, one of my amazing flute teacher friends.
Yeah, talk to us about why that's important. Yeah.
Because I know it's a thing, but I just don't know much past that. So you've got the head joint, you've got the embouchure.
Yeah.
You've got open tone.
Yeah, we work on the open pitch first, which should be an A. We work on making a really big fat sound with that. The musical mastery is really great because it shows you the shape that the opening in your lips should be. Whenever you're playing that open pitch, it shows you how that opening in your lips changes as you change pitches. So it starts with that open pitch. It gives you like whole notes. Like line number 1 is like whole note, whole rest, whole note, whole rest.
It also indicates
4 or 5 times
a breathing pattern, which I find to be very helpful. A 2-count breath.
Right. We use the 2-count breath. Yes. And we use the word how to breathe in. Especially with flutes, we're really working on just getting a solid 4 counts of sound.
Unwavered sound.
Yes, making it all the way to count 1. You know, my other classes, like we're going for more than 4 counts, but with flutes, I really want them to get a solid 4 counts of sound. If we can push it farther, we might, but I really just want them to get a solid 4 counts of sound.
Well, because how much of the air is wasted on flute?
Right.
A bunch.
And I really, really harp on making sure that they keep their head still and don't do the baby bird thing, taking a breath in, like raising their head up. That's just a big problem.
Or the turkey neck, where they stick their face towards it and not bringing it towards them.
Yeah, just being still. After they're making a pretty good 4-count sound, then we start talking about articulation. We try to do 2 half notes. But I also intersperse that with, after they get a real solid open pitch, then we're interspersing it with the capped low pitch, and we talk about what we need to do with the opening in our lips, you know, dropping the jaw down just a little bit, and to open up the lips, pushing our top lip a little bit forward, relaxing it forward so that the air can go down and into the tone hole to make a big fat sound. We work on getting 4 full counts on that, and then after that, that's when we go to the capped high pitch.
And that's where we are right now. They've just started that.
Yes, we've just started the capped high pitch. I will say this. I do not make them do the open high pitch before we move to instruments. We will get to that, but I don't make them get that pitch before we move to the instruments. Maybe that's wrong, but I just feel like if I made them do that, we wouldn't get to instruments till way too late, and I would lose their interest. Their interest.
And that's a fine line you walk with any beginner, is figuring out where the sweet spot is, especially when you're teaching all of them. When we have every kid, some that didn't want to be there in the first place.
Right.
So we've got to keep their interest a little bit. And so that's what we're doing. It's a balancing, it's a juggling act.
We're kind of getting to that spot as it is now, like losing interest of some of the kids.
Well, your flutes, when playing with them, although I think I blew their minds, I got out a head joint and played with them, and they're like, wow, you can do this. And I was like, what do you mean? Of course I can do this. I was like, that's what my degree's in band. I had to do this a long time ago.
Right. One of their favorite questions is, what instrument can you play? And well, all of them. We can play all of them.
Let's talk about putting the instrument together, which we haven't gotten to yet, but it's on the horizon.
Right.
How anal retentive are you? Teaching them to put that
I'm pretty
together?
Picky about it, honestly. I don't have to be.
I knew the answer to that before I asked that question.
I don't have to be picky with the flute players, because they're usually pretty picky with themselves. With saxophone players, I have to be ridiculously picky with them.
It's kind of like me and trombone players.
Right. With the flute players, they kind of police themselves. I really talk about, when we put the head joint on the body, we're going to hold the body at the neck where there are no keys, short twists to connect the two parts together.
Making sure you make a direct connection and not an angle.
Yes. Flutes don't need cork grease. Flutes don't need anything to make it go together easier. You just have to make sure that those connections stay clean. And that means not just like the parts you can see, but just also the insides of the connection points. And you could just use like a rough paper towel to clean those out and go through that with them in class. Like get a rough paper towel and show them how dirty it is inside there. But every single time a kid has a problem putting it together, clean it for them and show them. Be like, look how gross this looks. And then it's always going to go together super easy for you after you clean it out.
Unless it is dented.
Right.
In which case, may the odds be ever in your favor. Because sometimes there's some flutes that I have been able to just sort of roll out with a pencil that are not bad. And then there's some that I look at and go, oh, honey, no. That's going to have to go to the shop and get taken care of.
Right.
Because we try to fix as much as we can. I mean, if you're in a small school, your repair budget is not super high.
Right.
They give you what they can. But
ours is a little higher, though, because we give every single student a horn.
We do. Well,
we provide all the instruments.
And our students actually do a very good job of taking care of it. So if it's something, although we did have a high school student get a mouthpiece stuck inside the baritone through the bell.
I still don't know how that happened.
It was a $30 fix to get that mouthpiece out of there, and it was worth every penny because I tried, and short of holy water, I had nothing. But our students actually take really good care of their instruments, so that's not really too much of an issue. If something happens, it's usually not an expensive fix.
Yeah.
For the most part. They have good respect for the instruments. All right, let's talk about hand position.
My biggest pet peeve is the thumb, the right hand thumb.
Hashtag everybody's biggest pet peeve, I think.
I think the biggest struggle is the left hand first finger. Keeping that connection with the first finger knuckle to the flute, and then that like hook to the first finger.
I call that the captain hook.
Yeah, the pirate hook. Yeah.
And it allows me to talk like a pirate for
and then
like
how
period.
like that hand has to be kind of sideways, and then you reach over. I'm doing all these movements with my hand, like you can actually see them.
She is. It's very entertaining.
I feel like that is the biggest struggle with beginners, and you have to be really patient with them as you're explaining.
And be prepared to explain it
over and over again.
Over.
I put stickers on the flute.
Oh, I forgot that you do.
I just make them put their finger where the sticker is. I saw another person that we went to college with. She draws a little happy face on their finger.
Oh, yeah. I remember that it was on Facebook.
Yeah, I thought that was cute. So I think I might try that. I might steal that from her.
Now, they do make little, oh my gosh, what are they called?
The bow peps.
Is that what they're called?
I think that's what they're called.
They attach to the flute that allow you to do that. But if you can't afford that, there usually is a better option. Well, not necessarily a better option, but a different option to help you along the way that will not break the bank. Because let me tell you, if I could have every gadget, I originally was very against gadgets in the beginning, but the older I get and the wiser I get, I a lot of times a gadget, if it can make me move just a little bit quicker or a little bit more efficient or make my job easier to where I can focus on something else, I just jump all over that.
Yeah. But I think the biggest thing with that first finger and like making it stick there, that's just like convincing him that's your anchor. That's what's holding the flute to your face. If you try to hold your flute without that first finger being pushed against the flute, you can't hold on to the flute the right way. There's no pressure against your face. And so really talking about your anchor, that's the anchor. And you should be able to just push your hand against the flute, and that's holding the flute against your face, and just have that and your thumb holding the flute up. That's how you hold the flute without even putting any fingers down. Just pushing your left hand first finger, the side of it against your flute, and then your right hand thumb underneath the flute. And then with it against your lip, the lip plate against your lip. That's how you're balancing the flute, nothing else. You don't need any fingers down. I think that's the key, but you have to convince them of that. They have to believe that really works.
Yes. Well, it does work. I mean, once you show them how it works, the little light bulb, the little aha moment usually clicks in pretty well. It's a lot like holding the trombone, which we'll talk about in a future episode. The last thing I want to talk about is that horn angle, because I know that there are two schools of thought. Mm-hmm. One of them is that has to be perfectly parallel to the floor. And then I know that there's a school of thought that it needs to sit at a certain other angle, or a more natural, what's considered more natural angle, I guess. What do you, and I have friends that teach both ways.
I don't really care. Like, I don't want it to be like so far angled down that they're
you don't want
resting,
the Cocker Spaniel tilt.
I don't want them like resting their elbow on their lap. I don't want it to be that low, but like it doesn't have to be perfectly parallel. Like it can be slightly angled down. I mean, it's not marching band. It doesn't have to be perfectly parallel. It definitely has to be high enough that the lip plate is still in contact across their lip.
And the head looks natural.
Yes.
Yes.
I don't want their head tilted sideways. Yeah. Their chin needs to be parallel with the ground, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
The angle of the flute can be natural with their face.
As long as all the pressure is in the right places.
Yes.
Yes. Well, there you go. So that's the very, very beginnings of how we in our small school sort of approach the flute and some of the resources that we use to do that. And we'll talk more intermediately later on, I'm sure, sort of as a collective. But originally we were going to do all our woodwinds in one, brass in one, and percussion in one, and there's just too much to say.
Yeah, I think so.
Even if you're not, I am not as OCD as Michelle is when it comes to beginners.
Right. I think I move a little slower than Josh does because I'm so particular about so many things.
And I end up having to go back and go, no, we have to touch on this. We have to make this important and a priority. And our kids both turn out well, I think. And sometimes we do have to remind each other, oh, did you remember to do this? Or, hey, we've got to get to this point. And so it's kind of a checks and balances thing. And so on that note, just a final thought. If you don't have someone that you can toss your ideas around with, get one. Get someone. In all honesty, try to find someone that's a little bit different personality-wise than you in how they approach things. Michelle is very neat and articulate, and I am a hot, bloody mess. But it works. It works. But if you have somebody that you can throw around those ideas with, you'll learn a lot about yourself, and hopefully you'll benefit and your kids will benefit from it too. Thank you for listening to I'm calling this the Flooter Tooters episode.
That's what I call my flute babies, my Flooter Tooters.
And by the way, she has one that does toot. Did you know that?
They are
Did you know you have a little gassy flute player this year?
They are the gassiest class.
Like when you think gassy, you think low brass. Let's be honest. We are a gassy species. But her little flutes,
they are a hot mess.
Your smallest one broke wind the other day, and I was frozen. I didn't know what to do. And she was so proud of herself.
I'm not even sure which one you're talking about, but
when we get off, I'll tell you the name.
There are two tiny ones in that class, so
there are two tiny ones. But yeah, she is. Yeah, she let loose, and it reverberated.
I don't know. This has just been such an interesting. Because this is Sutton's class, and I've known these kids. And we've
known these kids forever.
For a really long time. It's just been such an interesting.
You have a preconceived notion, and they come in and you're like, whoa,
interesting dynamic. Yeah.
Not even close.
Yeah.
Not any clues. But the Flooter Tooters episode. So thank you so much for listening. And we will hopefully you'll be tuned in next time when we talk about another instrument that we have yet to be determined.
Brass next time.
Brass. Oh, so me. Great. Fantastic. And with that, goodbye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Little Bandology. Reach out to us on Facebook at Little Bandology or email us at littlebandology@gmail.com.